Get ready to uncover truths and reality of today's politics. Here's your host, Lori Mills.
Hi, welcome to another edition of Uncover California. I'm your host, Lori Mills, and I want to welcome you to today's show. Do you know what ticks me off? When I'm online, I'm on social media, and there's all these people that are there saying, my vote doesn't count. All is lost. There's nothing we can do about it. You know what? You are the people that need to get off your butts and get involved. On today's episode, on our first half, I've got someone that's actually gotten involved and has put his life on hold to fight for your vote. I want to remind you, no one's coming to save you but you. So I want to welcome to today's show, James Greenfield from Restore the Vote. Thanks for coming in, James.
Thank you, Lori, for having me here and our group and giving us some time and attention. I appreciate your commitment to local politics and what you're doing. And so thank you for bringing Restore the Vote Ventura in. And we've been, we're just a grassroots effort, a group. We kind of branched off. We're a project of what's called Ventura County Patriot Meetup. It's just a local group of like-minded individuals and wanted to see, okay, what can we do to make a difference in our county, and organizing different projects. And some of the projects could be working on homesteading and preparedness, and then local politics, which is where it started with the 2020 election. And after that, and what can we be doing? And so we wanted to see what can we do at the local levels to work on the election process and voter integrity, because I'm sure you're like me and so many people that we talk to. Do you really trust the election system? Does our vote really count?
Well, and I have something to say about that. In 2022, I was a candidate and the Republican nominee for state assembly. My son came home from boot camp, became a Marine. We were so proud of him. He had a 2-week break in September. And during that break, he did his mail-in vote. Well, we did ballot tracks, tried to follow his vote. It never arrived. Well, he was sent to Pensacola, so he couldn't cure the vote. And I went in and I talked to the county clerk, who at the time was Mark Lunn. And he looked at me and he goes, well, go check with the post office. There's a good chance we just haven't gotten to his vote yet. So I go down to the post office, wait in the huge line like we have to. And the postmaster said, we don't have any ballots left. Went back to Mark Lunn face to face. Mark, where's my son's vote? And he basically gave me a, oops, sorry. For one, I don't have confidence in our voting process here. I do not believe that mass mail-in voting is safe. I am not 100% convinced that our machines are legit. And I know that's a bad thing to say, but
You must be a conspiracy theorist.
Well, you know what? It's funny. So many conspiracies I've taken hold of are true. So yeah, I'd like to argue that. And if you're Democrat or Republican, this affects everybody. We have to have ID to go on a plane. We have to have ID to drive a car. Yet our entire constitutional republic is based on a fair vote. What got you involved in this? Like, what was the moment that you said, you know what, this is a mission I want to take on?
Well, let me answer that, and then I'd love to unpack a little bit of what you just talked about.
Yeah.
So what got me involved is, okay, I don't trust these machines.
And what made you not trust them?
Just everything that, well, for instance, just the whole tabulation process, and in the last presidential election, and seeing vote tallies change online, it's like something is not right here. And then when you start, it's this huge onion or pie, and there's just so many layers of it. And when you start looking and doing deep dives or mini dives into different areas, and there's different lawsuits, different challenges, people uncovering information's coming out weekly, and truth is coming out, and there's nothing reassuring about anything that comes out as far as, oh gosh, our our systems secure. And you look at other countries that banned electronic tabulation and went back to paper ballots and hand counts. And those are what we consider some third world countries. And here we're first world.
Are we?
I mean,
we used to
be, but we have a third world election system. And so what's going on here in California is one thing, and what's going on across the country. And so what can we do? And there's different groups that are doing different things. And there's battles going on in the courts. Those are very expensive, and those are long-term, long game, which it's good that it's being done. But what can we do right here in Ventura to change our upcoming general election? And so right here, we're at a crossroads. What can we do here? And so we can't win up in Sacramento.
If we can change the state assembly and the state senate, we can.
We can.
And right now there's a supermajority that I don't know if you saw. It was probably 6 months ago that Minority Leader Gallagher was actually speaking on a mic about a California issue, and the Democrats turned off his mic.
Right.
They don't have to listen to us. So local politics is where we have to save this. And we used to do precincts where if you went into a place to vote, that precinct would tabulate your ballot right there on the spot. Now everything is set.
Centralized tabulation.
Yes, sent to the county. And at the same time, we used to get the election results the night of the vote. When I ran for the assembly, it took 2 months.
Right. It's an election
to get the results.
Season instead of an election day.
Correct.
And that's one thing that we're challenging the Board of Supervisors. So our fight has been with the Board of Supervisors, and we've been at every Board of Supervisors meeting since, almost everyone, but a couple since October. And we're challenging the Board of Supervisors
What are you challenging them with? I know we've got a Republican majority now.
Right.
And there's no reason for them not to listen to you.
Right.
And actually do something. And again, it's not for Republicans or Democrats. It's for the entire constituency.
So, voter integrity should be a nonpartisan issue.
Correct.
But unfortunately, it's a sign of our times and day, and it is a partisan issue. So as you mentioned, I don't know if the stats have changed in the state since the last election, but prior to that, there was only 2 conservative majority Board of Supervisors counties, and we're one of them in the state. So now we have a situation where a conservative is the chair of the board, and that chair controls the agenda. And so it's Kelly Long, and so Supervisor Long is now the chair as of the beginning of the year. She was recently reelected to the board, so she's not fighting for a reelection. And so now our push right now is for Supervisor Long to put a discussion item on the agenda, which she controls, to discuss election integrity. And then what can we do at the county level? That's the first step for something to happen. So potentially out of that, they could potentially draft some ordinances to...
Such as, let's get specific.
So
what would you like to see the Board of Supervisors do?
So specifically, so right now we have what's called a Voters' Choice Act model in our election administration plan. So instead of...
And that's a state law.
So it's well, let me say.
Sorry.
So we used to have one-day precinct voting. So we're under the Voters' Choice Act. You have mail-in ballots, you have election centers, you have centralized tabulation in election season. So we would like to see one-day elections. And the Register of Voters, our ROV, opted us into the Voters' Choice Act, which we can opt out of it. So defund participation in the Voters' Choice Act and mandate one-day elections, which I was at the last board meeting on Tuesday, and I handed them a copy of the U.S. Constitution. A federal election is a one-day election. It says election day. So by having a multi-day election, you are violating the United States Constitution, which I challenge them. Where's your loyalties lie?
Who did you swear an oath to?
Exactly. So, and I challenged him: is this room just an echo chamber? So ultimately, the people have the power, as you know, but the power
we used to. I'm questioning that now.
The people have the power, but unfortunately, it's mostly in reserve, because if people don't stand up and speak, and it doesn't take a majority to speak up, it can be a small minority that make a lot of noise. And so we've been making noise, but we need more noisemakers.
Are you getting, that's what I was going to ask you next. How much participation are you getting?
So before the election, we had sometimes 20, 25 people at a Board of Supervisors meeting, sometimes up to 6, 8 speakers. If you have too many speakers, they cut your time. So right now, there's been a little malaise after the election, and people need to roll up their sleeves again and get involved. And I'm looking forward to this getting out there and to the reach that you have to hopefully ignite more Ventura County residents to send an email, or they can go to restorethevoteventura.org and give us their information. We'll put them on our mailing list, and we send out calls to action usually twice a month, but right now we're doing once a week to just motivate people and remind people to push. So maybe we had 50 emails go out in this last week. Well, we need a couple hundred to pressure for those conservative supervisors to feel the pressure to go ahead and pressure even Supervisor Long. Okay, let's put an agenda item, a discussion item on the agenda so that we can talk about these things, because they can have an ordinance that defunded Voters' Choice Act participation, because the Register of Voters is elected and they have control, but some of it's just a tradition thing in that we're in a different day here. Status quo isn't working. Status quo is obsolete, and we need you to take different action that might be unorthodox, unhistorical. Like having an ordinance saying we will have a one-day election in this county, and that we will only fund one-day precinct voting. So that's something they can do. You brought up this situation with your son and his vote not counting.
Yeah, and again, a kid who got out of high school and became a Marine to serve the nation.
Right.
And he's ready to lay his life down for our country, yet his vote did not count.
It didn't count. And so what is your recourse there?
Nothing.
Well, right. And so there used to be an independent fraud hotline and an independent inspector. We need that accountability. There's no direct accountability with our Register of Voters.
Okay, and that's locally. Because I can tell you, since Laura Trump has taken over the RNC with the other people, they did a lot of firing. There was and I'll say it loudly, bloodbath at the RNC. Right. And I know for a fact that now there are more attorneys, a phone call away if you're seeing fraud. I believe the website, if you have something to report, is california.protectthevote.com, where you can get online with attorneys immediately. But people need to get involved. Poll watching. Right now, we do not have we can't go in and watch the post office.
Right.
There's no chain of custody. I do not trust the mail-in voting at all. To me, that's the biggest thing.
It's horrible and insecure that you're relegating the security of the election to the post office.
Who gives me my neighbor's mail all the time?
So unfortunately, we have state laws in place, and I know that our supervisors can't fix everything, but I think there's some things that they can fix. So maybe they can cut a couple half limbs and a half a leg off of this integrity mess and the fraudulent structure really that's been set up. They can't fix it all. So I have realistic expectations, but there's some things that they could do, and they could go out on a limb and they might get challenged. So for instance, Shasta County, so we don't want Dominion tabulation machines. They cancel the contract. Then I think it's SB, is it 983? I might not have the number right. The Sacramento and Newsom So, well, if your county's over 5,000, you have to. Well, what if the county said an ordinance, well, we put a ceiling at 100,000 residents on that and said, no, we're not doing it. So there's some creative things that they could do. There's no election oversight commission that citizens are a part of. And so there's layers of accountability that could put in place. Our register of voters says, oh, no, we don't need that. And so we just police ourselves. Well, I'm sorry, I don't trust them. There's a mandatory 1% audit after each election. They sent out a notice with it was less than 24 hours notice or less that the audit's taking place. So they don't really want to be watched. They don't really want community participation. And so the election day should be sent back to the people. Let them run the precincts. Let it be a family thing, a neighborhood thing. And that was a much more secure system. And so
we got the vote results quickly.
Right.
I don't understand why we got away from the precincts and why we became centralized to count the vote. And again, I'm going to plead with you, audience. You have to get involved. You have to poll watch. You have to do whatever you can do to basically watch your own count. Even if you're a Democrat, don't you want your vote to count? It doesn't make sense for anybody to push back on this. Your vote is the most important thing. So what other steps do you think can happen here?
So for instance, how about an ordinance that if the state law has this mail-in vote ballots, it's we can't fix that. And part of the Voters' Choice Act, if they opt out of it, I believe we can get out of these ballot drop boxes. But if a ballot drop box is not monitored and with surveillance and secure, then there shouldn't be one installed in this county. So when is our Board of Supervisors going to say, you know what, not on our watch? This isn't going to happen. This isn't going to happen. They don't control the administration of the election, but they can, through the power of legislation with county ordinances, they can put some parameters in. They're going to put some safeguards in that are not there. And like I say, they can't fix everything, but they can fix some things, or they can go down trying by passing an ordinance, and maybe it was challenged in court by Sacramento or somebody. I mean, we know there's a lot of forces here. There's a lot of Soros dollars at work in this county, and there's an arsenal of financial backing. But go down making the right decision, fighting for us, protecting our vote, and let that be your legacy. Not, no, you ignored us, you let us down, you didn't do anything.
Well, again, I have never been this fearful for our country. With wide open borders, the indoctrination of our children, the cultural Marxism that has just infiltrated our country. And the vote is one of those things that is sacred. It must be protected. I honestly don't mind maybe 3 days worth of voting, maybe even a week of voting. Nothing after voting day, but those results should be out election day. So
for instance, we have electioneering going on, and part of that process is this multi-day election, sending in your vote and having pre-processing. So the scanning of your vote and then having people have access to that, to where, oh, we know this person sent their ballot in, so we don't have to focus on them. We'll focus on this person. There should be no pre-processing of ballots. So if you do have early voting, there's no early processing and tabulation and then posting these results, so that now that's all part of the election strategy. And that's why I defer to, it should just be one day, because they're always going to be looking for loopholes, and the loopholes need to be closed. And election day should be one day as per the U.S. Constitution. So,
well, we shouldn't have the results like who won the minute the election is over. There's no way that they can count all those votes that quickly. And I know when Gavin Newsom, God help us all, was reelected, they had him winning the minute polls closed.
Right.
How's that possible? Yet we can't get results to other elections for 2 months.
Processing of election ballots. And that's all part of the election Ponzi scheme. It's like there's a whole election economy and world that I mean, I'm even just learning every week. I learn new things.
Now, explain that.
So there's, for instance, there's trade organizations like the California's, I could get this wrong, but there's a organization for Secretary of States, for county clerks and election officials, and they go and meet. And actually, the Secretary of State's met in Nevada, even out of state. So it's like, what went on at that? We're not part of this. We're not invited. We're excluded. And then who are the donors? Meta, Smartmatic, Dominion. It's like these.
Arabella Financial funds a lot of this stuff with dark money, foreign money in our elections, which is crazy.
So why is Meta involved in that? Well, I mean, we know why they are, but it's nothing good for the people. It's about election and electioneering. And so we're not even invited, and most people aren't aware of this whole ecosystem, like I say, and what goes on. And
right.
So it's a, there's millions and millions of dollars involved in the billions. And so it just needs to be unraveled. And if you just went back to just, mechanical tabulation, not electronic, not programmable. So like our tabulation machines, there's nobody in an employee of the county that actually knows what's going on with that.
What would you like to see the public do to get involved in your organization and even just poll watching? What would call to action?
So, for instance, poll watching, election integrity, get with them. They're the people that have been doing this a long time. Our fight right now, it's like we're narrow. So if you log onto our website, restorethevoteventura.org, you can give us your information. We'll put you on our email list, and you can get involved that way. What we like to see, like in the next week or 2 weeks, is to join the effort to send our supervisors, and we're just contacting the conservative ones. There's no point in wasting our voice with the ones that oppose this.
Right.
And then they'll get their troops in action, and it's like, why mobilize them? They'll get mobilized anyway.
They're paid to mobilize,
likely, but we don't need to tell them what we're doing.
Right.
So that's the most important thing, is to send these emails out, or we send out invitations to the Board of Supervisors meeting. So join us at the next meeting. I think it's the 22nd of this month. So,
and if voting's not on the agenda, what is their purpose for being there?
So if there's an item on the agenda that we can speak to, we do. But basically, we speak at public comment, general public comment time. So you can join that, make a comment. You can send an email to those supervisors. You can send an email to the clerk the clerk of the board, and that would be entered into the record. You can join the meeting and even speak online by Zoom.
Yes, I've done that before.
So you've done that. And so there's so many different ways you can participate, or just showing up. We're working on an effort to have enough people to have a little sign carrying protest, and to make a louder presence there, because we want the supervisors and Supervisor Long to feel some pressure to put this on the agenda. And that's the next step, because if they have time to change the election administration plan for the November election.
And it is an important election.
Very important. And
right.
So time's ticking. We're in a crunch. It's like we need them to take action April, May, for there to be enough time to pass ordinances, put them in place, and to have them affect our November election. So that's our immediate goal.
Okay. And also, people remember, our local GOP is connected to the California GOP. You can get connected there as well. I can tell you, for the primary election, the volunteer rate was abysmal. No one is coming to save you. You need to get involved. And again, if you see fraud, you can go to california.voteventura.org protectthevote.com. There are attorneys on standby. Now, where can people find you, James, if they want to get involved?
So restorethevoteventura.org.
Okay.
That's how it sounds. restorethevoteventura.org. And there's not a lot on our website. We're not trying to give the opposition our too much of what we're doing. So get on our contact list, give us your information, and we'll send out those calls to action, whether it's every week or twice a month. You can, in just 5 minutes a month or 10 minutes a month, sending a couple emails, you can make a difference. Your voice can count, and you might not know if your vote counts, but your voice isn't going to count if you don't exercise it. And so we're giving you the opportunity to join forces, and we're trying to organize this county and this effort and get as many people speaking out on this issue right now, especially during this next 30-day window. It's critical.
Okay, thank you so much for coming in. Is there anywhere anybody can reach you on social media if they want to follow you?
We're working on our social media outreach, and so we're hoping to be on Rumble and Instagram shortly. We don't have a big social media presence, but if people would like to volunteer, we will put you to work, because I'm one person, you're one person. There's only so much any one individual can do, and it takes a team, as you know.
Okay, well, I want to thank you for coming in today. I'm really excited about what you're doing. I wish you all the success in the world. Okay, guys, so we're going to be going to commercial break. I do want to warn you, in our next segment, I have a woman coming in with Moms for America. There's going to be some material that is not appropriate for children. So if you've got little kids or somebody you don't think you want to see this, please get them out of the room. You have about a 30-second commercial break to do so. Remember to follow me on uncovercali.com, also on X at Lori Mills, 4CA42, and just make sure to follow our new Rumble channel. We're pushing it out. Stand by, and we'll be right back.
Today's episode brought to you by Open Arms.
Welcome to Open Arms, an honest conversation about firearms.
Welcome back to Uncover California. I'm Lori Mills, your host. Now, if you weren't with us on the first segment, I want to give you a minute. Get small children and children out of the room. In this segment, there will be some inappropriate things for children, and we don't want to do what the schools are doing to them. So, Mama Bears, get your kids out of the room and let's have a serious talk. When I ran for the state assembly, one of the reasons I did that was I found out what they were teaching my child at school. My son was taught about sex toys, which I thought was completely inappropriate. I couldn't believe that it actually happened. And therefore, I dropped everything and ran for office. In this segment, I'm joined by a very dear friend, Joelle Mancuso, with Moms for America. When I first met her, she was with Mama Bears, Conejo Valley. I want to welcome you to the show, Joelle.
Thank you. I'm so glad I'm here.
So, wow, Moms for America, you're just taking it a step further now, aren't you?
Well, you know what? It is a mom's movement, and we are a big contingency in this nation. And when it comes to our children, we will fight to the very ends of the earth for them. Therefore, Mama Bears of Conejo Valley is Moms for America, and we have over 500,000 moms, and soon to be 1 million moms. So our voices will not be quieted.
Right. Now, let me ask you, how did you get involved to begin with? What was the pivotal moment in your life where you said, oh my God, I have to do something?
Well, I think it heated up definitely during 2020, 2021, because the schools were shut down. We knew the kids were suffering. The parents were suffering. Everybody was. And no one was speaking up for the moms who started seeing that something wasn't right, that the kids really needed to be in school. and they had no voice. And
Right.
and because we were all shut down, the moms weren't talking to each other in the street, or, everyone was just isolated, which was perfect for control, but they needed some help. And that really is what started me just gathering the voices and giving some instruction on how to be heard.
Yeah,
That's where it started.
one of the blessings of COVID, though, I do think was we got to see what our children were being taught.
Yes.
Now, since then, you ran for the school board in Conejo Valley. I was gutted that you didn't win, and I don't know how you did it, to tell you the truth. Tell me about that journey.
That was really interesting. I had never thought I'd be running for school board. I had my kids in a public school here and there, and charter school, and homeschooled them most of the time. My son did go to high school, though, in Moore Park. And both my parents were teachers, and I had just a great experience in public school. But something was changing right around 2012, and I just was watching the board do certain things. I was attending board meetings. Well, it started when they were wanting to remove the asterisk next to the book titles that they thought parents should be alerted to take a look at before their student read a certain book, because there might be questionable, controversial material.
Right.
I thought, well, that sounds reasonable. And I went to a board meeting, and there were people wearing these T-shirts and people wearing these T-shirts, and everyone was fighting about banning books, which is kind of interesting because this was, 6 years ago or something like that. And we're hearing this again, but there was never any banning of books. They were trying to ban the ability for parents to parent. And that's not okay. And it made me realize that something was going on at the board level that wasn't being said. And there was a lot of demonizing moms who were just really wanting to be able to have the tools to parent their kids. And so, my Mama Bear came out, because that's not okay.
Yeah, well, and again, for me, when COVID ended and the schools were finally open again, I used to volunteer a lot for marching band in my son's school. And they were doing this big competition one day. And so I went into the library, which was where we were going to get the kids ready. And I was doing all the girls' hair. I was braiding it, getting it out of their faces. And I'm looking around the room, and all I see are books like Transgender in America. I see Black Lives Matter, a grassroots movement, a Defund the Police book. And that's when I went to war with the school board and actually won that battle, although I do think everything's gone well back into just craziness. You provided a video for us, too, that I want to touch on in a little bit, but...
Well, I just wanted to say that the kids are starting to get tired of what's happening at the schools. They're not stupid. They know that they are being used. They know that there's a political agenda, and the kids are coming out of the woodwork. And I get calls from parents, from students, from teachers. A lot of people like saying I don't like public school and teachers, which for the record is not true.
Yeah, the teachers are good. Yeah.
Public school, it can be awesome. But this student came forward and said, I don't know why my teacher would assign this link to us. She told us not to cite it in the homework, but that we could watch it if we wanted to, but make sure don't cite it. Well, the first thing he did is he went to trusted adults, and he said, this is the video they're showing us. And so...
What grade?
This student was 15.
Okay, so 15 years old.
Old school here in our valley. And I, when you told me, let's show it, I was like...
I think it's important that parents see that this was actually an assignment at school. I'm going to go ahead, and we're not going to play the whole thing, but I think it's important that you see this video. For those of you that didn't get the kids out of the room yet, I'm going to ask you to pause the video, get your kids out of the room, and we're going to move forward and show you what this child brought to Joelle's attention. Tech, can you please roll? Darwin Substation.
It's been 8 months, 14 days, and 37 minutes since I lost contact with the Xerxes relay orbiter. I depend on the Xerxes to replenish my supplies every 6 months. My only companion is my HD 700 series pleasure droid, D, but her artificial intelligence is limited and therefore has no good ideas to help our situation.
You seem so distant lately, Duncan. Shall we copulate?
How can you think about sex at a time like this?
It is what I'm programmed for.
Our food and supplies are running low. We could die on this planet.
I am unable to die. My CPU will last as long as there is solar energy, and since this planetary system has 2 suns, the probability for termination is not for another 1.256 billion years. Besides, we have each other.
Why doesn't the orbiter respond to our distress signal? Did they have an accident? Could they be dead?
Maybe they're just ignoring you.
That's ridiculous. I'm a very likable person.
Of course you are. I love you very much.
We need to find some source of edible food on this planet before our rations run out.
I do not require food. Your love is sustenance enough.
That's it. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Prepare my biosuit and ready the airlock for breach.
More erotic asphyxiation games?
No, I'm going out there to find food.
Would you like me to come with you?
No, just give me some space, please. Here, entertain yourself for a while.
I think we can cut it there.
Yeah, it just gets worse and worse. And that masturbation thing started making me think of the poor kid in our local school who was caught masturbating in class, in the middle of class, and would not stop. And this was after a week of our new sex ed called Teen Talk, which is leading kids down the wrong way. It's not your health class like we're thinking our health class used to be.
Yeah, and I'm not going to kid ourselves. I recognize teenagers can get promiscuous. Teenagers can experiment. However, it's not the school's job to push this, and I'm sorry, soft porn on the kids.
Yeah, and I think there's been some confusion there because some parents will tell me, well, they're going to see it anyway on the internet, so what's the point of trying to get it out of schools? But that's the errant thinking, because the schools are a place where we're trying to, it should be a safe place, meaning that they feel safe, their innocence is protected. One of the comments that I heard from a teacher, she called me and said it broke her heart because she overheard students talking and they were saying, we get this all day long in our face. We just want to not have it all day at school. Will you please stop? Now, if you can't hear that, and this was a teacher overhearing it from a student, please stop. It's too much. Our lives are saturated with it. We don't want it at school. That would be the perfect time to say, yeah, let's stick to reading, writing, arithmetic, and make sure everyone treats each other nice and not continue on with this forward sexual kind of health ed.
Well, and we've also seen where CRT was, all us parents went, oh my gosh, CRT in school, critical race theory. And then it went to diversity, equity, inclusion, which are cultural Marxism beliefs.
Right.
The problem is kids can't change their race, but what they can change is their gender. Sure. And all this gender theory is being pushed down the children's throats. And I'm terrified for kids that actually go through with the hormone blockers, the surgeries. Where are they going to be 20 years from now? At 13, 14, I was a tomboy, and they would have transitioned me.
Well, sure. The only thing is if you're uncomfortable in your body. Are you uncomfortable in your body at 13, 14?
Every kid is.
Every single kid is.
It's probably the ugliest you'll ever be in your life. Is at like 12, 13. Your teeth don't fit your face. Your head doesn't fit your body. Yeah. You're starting to go through the changes. I mean, it's an awkward phase, and it's normal to feel awkward.
And another tragic thing is parents whose kids come home and say, I don't feel like I was born in the right body. And if they don't affirm that self-diagnosis is a self-diagnosis, so they're coming home and saying, I think I have this thing, and therefore it is. And if the parents don't agree with it, then in California, you can lose your kid.
Yes.
So the parents are really put behind the 8 ball. And so much now, and you hear it in the news, everyone seems to have a transgender child.
It's become a
impossible.
trend. When I was a teenager, girls liked to dress up like Madonna or Pat Benatar, but they weren't cutting off.
Jett.
Yeah, they weren't cutting off body parts.
Right.
And for any parent to allow this, I'm sorry, I know you love your child, but you got a little form of Munchausen's by proxy. You're getting some form of attention by letting your child do this to themselves. It's your job to protect your child, and letting them have a sex change at 13, 14, 15 years old is not protection. And parents, if you want to stop this, you really need to pay attention to your state assembly races and your state Senate races, because it is them, the Capitol Democrats, that have made this all state law. They've put families in danger. They've put children in danger, and it needs to stop. Now, another thing that you mentioned earlier that I want to delve into a little bit is the books that are being taught in school. Did you bring any with you?
I did not bring any with me. There are over 148 different books circulating through 2 different local districts that we know that are questionable, and I don't think parents are at least being alerted to what these books are. In one of the high schools, they are using The Bluest Eye. And
what is that?
The Bluest Eye is a book that is about incest and rape of father to a child. And not that those terrible things don't happen, that they're horrible, but it's a way in which the books are illustrating what they're not illustrating, but what the words are. They're very graphic. It feels like you're reading pornography, the way that they are talking about it feeling good, and just some very, it's been very hard to read these different books. I was going to bring it today and read it, but I didn't want to read it because it's so hard to do that out loud in such a public way. But we do have a plan to make sure that parents know that is in the libraries and being assigned in literature class. In fact, the video that we saw, the anime, was a English class. It wasn't a robotics class.
Because
not that would make it okay.
Grammar.
But that was in the English class that was assigned in. I'm not quite sure.
What's funny is during COVID, when they had the Zoom class, that's when I found out about a lot of the racism type indoctrination that was happening. In my son's class. It was an English class, and the teacher was having kids, and it was the curriculum. I don't think it was really her having the kids read congressional testimony by Democrats calling Republicans racist.
Yeah.
And I said, what does this have to do with English? What does it have to do with grammar? It made zero sense to me.
It doesn't. And the schools have really been politicized. And I think that
it's the unions more, though, don't you think? And school boards
Well, it's the teachers' colleges. So we already know that university has been pretty dark for a couple decades, and they've been going very much towards the Marxist type of teaching. So we have new teachers that are coming out of these schools, and they've been indoctrinated on this stuff. The older teachers have been there for a while. They are retiring early, sometimes 5 years early, because they just aren't willing to teach what they're being asked to teach. Or they continue to use the materials that they've used their entire career, which you hope to get those teachers. There's some really great teachers out there that are trying to make a difference. And I know a lot of teachers that are sticking in the system because they feel like these kids are being preyed upon through the education that they're getting from outside sources. So a lot of the sources I know in our own school district, Conejo Valley Unified, are being sourced from places like San Jose and New York and San Francisco, which is not our community. And they're trying to fit that in by bringing these cookie cutter curriculums along. And the teachers who are overworked are deciding just to use them and putting them in front of the kids. And some our veteran teachers, they can spot that, and they can bob and weave and get the real education into the kids. But a lot of the newer, inexperienced teachers, one, have been indoctrinated, and two, here's all my stuff. I can just put it in front of the kids. It becomes an easier thing to do. So I understand that. And We have a lot of teachers are pressured by the unions. Just to let you know, if you're a teacher and you're watching this, you do not need to be part of the California Teachers Union. That was something that was done away with. You do not have to be part of that union. If you want protections, there are other protections. I'm not saying it's easy. There's lots of backlash for these teachers, but it's a great way to get out from underneath their thumb. And moms, it's the hardest job on the planet, right? But we need to come together and we need to be at the kitchen table teaching the things that we need to teach. And I'm not just talking to if you have kids in public school or private school or you're homeschooling, it happens at the kitchen table. Your circle of influence starts at the closest possible moment. So that's going to be at the kitchen table and in your neighborhood and in your communities. And therefore, you need to get together with like-minded people. And Moms for America has so many resources.
Let's talk about those resources. What do you offer?
We have blogs, we have podcasts, we have homeschooling resources. We also have a 501c4 that also works in the legislative area of education. So they're capitals and watching out for bad bills that are coming through. And we also have school board training modules. And there's so much. If you go to momsforamerica.us, you will have a ton of resources, including information for your kids. So we're raising patriots, right? So we're celebrating liberty and we're empowering moms and we're raising patriots. And if that sounds like something that you want to get on board with, we have lots of resources there and for the kids too. So
yeah, one of the disturbing things I think that's happening right now, especially with the gender theory and everything that goes on there, is the schools are telling the kids, if your parents won't affirm you, then your parents are the enemy. And that's something that we see in cultural Marxism. It's what Mao did. He separated the parents from the child.
Yep.
It's what Stalin did. It's what Hitler did. And where we sit today with watching what's going on in our universities, where these kids are coming out of there hating our country, supporting a terrorist organization, Hamas, we're in a very dangerous place. And it's so important that you pray and you bring your family unit back together. Talk to your kids. Don't let them feel isolated. And make sure you tell them how much you love them. It's your job to protect them.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of parents and even grandparents now who have grandkids in school think that school is what it was 20 years ago.
It's not.
It's not. It's not the same thing. And I know, especially in our area, we used to have just rock star schools.
Yeah, we're like 39th in the nation, I believe, right now.
People used to come out here just for the schools. And you just can't do that anymore. You're really throwing them to the wolves right now. And I hate to say that, but social justice has taken over Conejo Valley Unified. Simi Valley Unified is a close second. And you're not going to hear that from the district, of course. They work very hard over time, making sure the moms groups on Facebook are heavily monitored by 15 or 20 people that shut down any descending opinion about that.
And you had an experience with this recently.
Yeah. So the first thing that happens, and all moms need to know this, it's very hard on moms groups on Facebook to come out and just ask a question. There was a mom on a Facebook group that wanted to know what school wasn't teaching the gender catalog. And I was saying, you really can't get away from it because that's what public school is teaching now. And there was someone from the district that works for the district that tried to say is not being taught at all and just shut it down. And then what happens, 2 or 3 other people come along that work with the first person and they start attacking the mom. And then all the moms, and you know this, if you're a mom watching this, you know this. You're like, I'm not going to say anything anymore. And you go into the corner, right? Because you don't want to be attacked. In fact, that's why Mama Bears on Facebook actually grew so much, as the moms just getting battered by this small little group of moms that keeps everyone quiet. And we have to stop being quiet.
Yeah.
Because we know the truth. We know what's going on. We need to talk to each other. Why would anyone in their right mind, myself included, decide just to cause trouble?
Yeah.
I've got better things to do. I have a new grandchild. I have a family. I have lots to do. The last thing I wanted to be doing was making sure the schools were teaching the kids. But you know what? We all have to be part of this. Everybody has to be a part of it. And we're not going to stay quiet. We're the majority. We are 1 million moms strong across the nation. And we're going to stop being quiet in Facebook groups, even when they turn off comments, which is what happened yesterday.
Yeah.
And we're going to keep on talking to each other. And if you don't find a friendly group and you want to find out what's going on, you can come to Mama Bears and also come to Moms for America, because Moms for America collected all the Mama Bears.
Yes.
And we're all together now.
And people also need to remember, they want you to be silent. They will call you names. They will defame you. They will make up stories about you in order for you to shut up. We're living in a day and age where we cannot afford to be silent. Our nation is at stake. Our children are at stake. And you have to be loud. I mean, I would rather lose a few friends than lose my children. My kids aren't for sale.
Exactly.
And it's so great that we have an organization and a lot of organizations like Moms for America that are there to be your support.
That's right. That's right. You're not alone. And a lot of parents who work, both parents working, they can't homeschool. They know there's problems with the public schools right now. And they want to bring their kids out and they're like, how am I going to do that? And there's lots of resources on the momsforamerica.us website. And there's local support here. You just need to reach out and we'll help people get started, because that's where we're at. It's all about our kids.
And make sure to listen to your children.
Yes.
Just keep that communication open. When your son or daughter comes up and you say, how was your day? They're like, fine. Get more than fine out of them. It's just because they don't want to talk to you. Let's face it, we're not cool. And they know way more than we do. Yeah. That's just being a teenager.
Yeah.
But what's concerning to me too is the younger children, where it's a soft transition. I feel like we're kind of a frog in the boiling pot.
Oh yeah, it starts
a lot of
pre-K.
way. Right.
So the universal pre-K, free pre-K. I don't actually think it's free. There's a cost there, and it's usually to your child's innocence, and it does start with pre-K with the books. And you won't spot them because it's just so subliminal, and they ramp up, and then they go quite strong by the time they're in second and third grade. The boy or a girl, they can be anything, and a cat, a dog, a unicorn, and truth is out the window, and a lot of kids are really confused, and that's where it starts. Confusion, right?
Yeah.
And mass confusion.
And we're lucky. I mean, we have an amazing pastor. You go to Godspeak as well.
I do.
And Pastor Rob McCoy says one thing, and it's something he says that always sticks with me. A lie cannot stand in the light of truth. And that's where we have to be right now. We have to speak truth in love, but we cannot allow our kids to just bear the brunt of this, or we're just not going to have a country. They have to grow up to be responsible adults. So do you have anywhere else or places that you want people to go to get support or to find?
I do. So if you're local, you can find Mama Bears on Facebook, and that's pretty easy to find, Conejo Valley Mama Bears, and it is a closed group. Just let me know that you heard me on Lori's show, and we'll get you help and put you in there. And then Moms for America, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook with a page. We're also on X for minute-to-minute commentary.
Well, that's where the war is.
That's where the freedom is.
It is where the freedom is. That's why I'm only there. I go on Facebook rarely.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot there, but you can definitely feel that you're going to somehow get a ground zero truth on X. And thank goodness for that.
Thank you, Elon.
Yeah. Thank you.
Now, are you personally on social media, or do you just like to stay within your organizational social media pages?
I do have personal, because I have other businesses, but I am most active right now, especially with the kids and families. and equipping families to be able to feel that they can affect their kids in a way that when they do go out, whether they're going out to public school or private school, or they're staying around the kitchen table, that they're equipped with the lessons of our history and our founding and the greatness that made America, and that they feel good about themselves. And, one thing that we're in such short supply in schools is the kids feeling good about who they are.
Yeah.
They don't feel, they're not being taught to feel good who they are right now. They're trying to be taught to be
somebody else.
And everything's wrong.
Right.
And somehow America's wrong, and all the greatness that we are is a lie. And after doing that for years and years in public school, because all the textbooks have been changed, by the way, we could talk for 3 hours.
We could, and unfortunately, we're running out of time.
There's lots of things, lots of information, but reach out to me and I can at least help you navigate that. But most importantly, affect your family in a really positive way with teaching them the principles of liberty.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming in today, and keep up the fight. We need people like you.
And you, Lori.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thank you for having this show and bringing on patriots.
Oh, cool. We gotta tell people what's going on.
I know.
Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning in this week to Uncover California. Please share it with friends. Please like our new Rumble channel at Uncover Cali. Follow me on X at Lori Mills, 4, CA42. And beyond that, tune in next week where we will have PERC President Amy Bond, and we also have congressional candidate Thomas Cole coming in. I hope you have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.